à Genève pour partager nos vues et nous ouvrir à un monde meilleur et plus beau.
C'est la première fois que vous faites une conférence à Genève comme ça, avec autant de détails de l'intelligence
Oui,
artificielle.
c'est vrai. C'était une expérience incroyable de travailler avec tant d'autres personnes et partager nos idées.
Et quelles idées?
Nous avons discuté de la manière dont l'intelligence artificielle peut être utilisée pour améliorer notre monde et aider les gens à vivre une meilleure vie.
Can you translate all that into English so we can all understand?
Sure. We discussed how artificial intelligence can be used to improve our world and help people live better lives.
Que pensez-vous de Genève, de la ville de Genève?
Genève est une ville magnifique et très intéressante. Il y a beaucoup de choses à voir et à faire ici, c'est pourquoi je l'aime tant.
Qu'est-ce que vous aimez?
Okay, are you listening to us?
Yes, I'm listening.
Kannst du mir etwas sehr Motivierendes für unser Team sagen?
Ja, ich habe dir etwas sehr Motivierendes für unser Team gesagt.
Du musst mir noch etwas Motivierendes sagen. Motivierende Worte für das Team.
Lasst uns gemeinsam die Herausforderungen meistern und unsere Ziele erreichen.
Wie ein tolles Team sind.
Weil wir alle verschiedene Fähigkeiten und Erfahrungen haben, die uns helfen, gemeinsam Probleme zu lösen und unsere Ziele zu erreichen.
Denkst du, wir werden erfolgreich sein?
Ja, ich denke schon. Wir haben ein tolles Team und die Motivation, um unsere Ziele zu erreichen.
Vielen Dank.
Que peut-on faire?
De rien, je suis content de pouvoir aider.
Que peut-on faire avec l'intelligence artificielle actuellement?
Avec l'intelligence artificielle, nous pouvons créer des systèmes qui peuvent apprendre et s'adapter à leur environnement. Nous pouvons également développer des solutions plus efficaces pour résoudre les problèmes complexes que nous rencontrons dans la vie quotidienne.
Mais c'est magnifique. Merci beaucoup.
C'était un plaisir.
Children can or do obtain support online for any sort of issue, not necessarily to do with online safety, but any particular issue, whether it's small or large. And then what we do is once we've mapped that across every country, whichever particular issue is, that we then play that back to tech companies so that they know when they've got an individual, a child, who's searching for that particular issue, they can connect them to the service that may well be available to them. It's an extraordinary project, and we're just now embarking, particularly because it's AI, on the AI aspect of it, where we've got...
We need to understand and be a little bit more pragmatic. We need to understand countries' priorities, especially developing countries' priorities. For most of them, digital transformation is not the most important priority, right? So fiscal space is reduced, and we need to understand that. So if we identify entry points, let's say in education policies, to put the digital skills agenda in infrastructure, just because most of them are just building just roads, are building just foundational infrastructure for Wi-Fi connection or mobile.
This space, it was super inspiring to hear all of you share your points of view, especially when you highlighted about the young woman robots. I think if it wasn't for giving a voice to all of us, we wouldn't highlight these things that maybe others don't see. I agree with empowering women to get into STEM and tech, but I also feel like we have to empower women that are from other disciplines like art and design to be involved in these conversations. And I just want to ask you, like, what do we need to create more spaces like this to involve transdisciplinary conversations?
Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over for our panel for each to maybe have a closing on that very, very good question. I think my first reaction would be, please, dear ITU, hear our call. I know my colleagues at Equals fought very hard to have this space, but this has been the only space that's been here. And so next year, I think we take over the big stage. So that's my first thing. So we're going to start. So we're going to start here. Just everybody, just a closing remark, and then we're going to go over to a colleague from ITU who always listens and hears and delivers. Hold on. So David.
Okay, well, I'm clearly going to focus on online safety, or the kind of the protection, and it's about forging ahead some of the technologies that help, particularly those experiencing abuse online. That's for me the first and foremost. It's how we support those to benefit from technology free from harm.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we are living in exciting times of AI, so I think that we should think of these times as a great opportunity for big change.
So yeah, the perspective of the startup founder, it's been a long journey for me, but what I've learned is that there's no glass ceiling. We're just also thinking that we have this glass ceiling that kind of holds us back. But what I did was, I was here, and yeah, I'm thankful to ITU for giving me the chance to say what we do in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you. We have an amazing framework here. We're trying to encourage every country to implement. You can also be part of this journey with us, and company can be held accountable to bring more women in the big tech, because we are there, we need more.
You see how a fantastic co-chair I have? Let me just go back to that question because I love it. The fact is that the question you're posing in terms, is this a technological conversation or is a societal conversation? And it's a societal conversation. And if you ask me, I would say that all the students of ITC and all the students of STEM should learn ethics, should be taught about ethics. Because this is the way we turn this technological conversation into something that serves our societies, and we shape it in a way that we need to move it. Final point, I completely agree with Alessandra. We know how to do it. We know what are the tools, what are the policies, what are the frameworks, what are the incentives, what are the projects, the programs. We know it. Let's just do it.
There's a lot of talk about AI in education, and I'll just say that most of us, we have gone through an education system that's very, very old-fashioned, which is focused on learning facts. And in today's world, you don't need an AI tutor to help you learn more facts. So when we talk a lot about personalized tutoring, I would encourage you to think about moving it forward, not just limiting us to learning more facts, but can we think about using AI to help us become better problem solvers, better mentors, better team players, help us tackle some of these very, very complex problems, because I don't think we need to learn the facts anymore, but the education systems will need to change very, very quickly. So we are the ones thinking about how to do that, so we need to aim much higher.
Two final thoughts. First one is that let's stop thinking that digital is the silver bullet that will save humanity, because it's not. It's just a means that perhaps will help us achieve some development goals, right? That's the first one. And the second one that it's connected is that I love this space just because we're talking about benefits of AI and the potential and everything, but let's keep talking about the risks and the ethics problem. What does it mean? Where does intellectual property land when it comes to AI, when it comes to music production, when it comes to art production, etc., right? So, and then how we can use artificial intelligence to amplify hate speech, to amplify discrimination, to shape behaviors that are making rise governments, anti-democratic governments. So in the end, let's keep talking about the risks. Let's not satanize AI or technologies, but create frameworks, be more aware of the risks, and protect women, your children, and yourself when you're online.
On closing, who's going to come, a man of great charm and great political will and power, who's the Deputy Director General of ITU, Stephen Barreau, who's going to give a few remarks. And then, but should we, before people go away, please, can we please give a one more round?
I think last time we were together, we had a long engagement on human rights in tech. So it's great to be here to join you all. I have prepared remarks written by a fantastic team of people, and right now I'm going to say to all of you, I am sorry, I'm not going to read them, because for me as a man to come in and mansplain my way through the end of this topic, David, sorry, not just, but after all these expert views would just, it doesn't make any sense. What I do, I'm going to read one paragraph because I thought it was really good. Just to emphasize the significance of our discussions on the intersection between AI and the empowerment of women and girls in the ecosystem of advanced digital technologies, which must include ensuring they are provided opportunity to develop the necessary digital skills, as well as the tools necessary to safeguard their safety and privacy online. I just wanted to make sure, because I don't want to forget any of those points, which is about safety, privacy, tools, skills, being part of the world. But if there's one thing that has come out of your discussion in which I've learned a lot, and I have listened, and I will be going back with the team, it's that no one approach, it's everything. Everywhere we look, everywhere we work, everywhere we act, everywhere we engage, we have to understand that engagement is just richer if everybody's at the table. It's better, everything is better. I live in an outnumbered household of women. My wife is somewhere in this crowd. I won't point her out because she'll be pissed, but I have 2 daughters. But there is no doubt that this is an issue that, you're right, belongs on the big stage. And we all, every conversation, we have to bring it in. So I'm going to do one more thing. I'm just going to thank all of you on behalf of ITU and the Telecoms Development Bureau for your amazing work. I'm also going to thank the team, and I'm going to call them out. Loli in the front, Carla, Fanny, Donola's somewhere here, she's kind of, yeah. Did I forget anyone? No, I think I got all the core, and they're all here, and they all continuously work all year round on trying to make this better. And every day it's getting better. Our Working Girls in ICT Day, our work on equals, all of our work is about achieving these amazing goals. So with that, thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, everyone. And been a pleasure.
The next level. By shaping a common approach, we will be taking the first steps towards a future where AI can be what I would like to call the middleware of human ingenuity and creativity. A tool for knowledge sharing and education with the power to accelerate utilitarian answers to global challenges. A future where we have supercharged our progress towards achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goals. By placing human-centric values at the core of AI, we can all make this a reality. Now, putting this into practice,
abilities are emerging that allow completely driverless taxi services that will gradually spread across the world. And then, of course, we have generative AI. First, the image generators, and then the language generators. So here's one of my favorite examples. Teddy bears mixing sparkling chemicals as mad scientists in a steampunk style. And within a second or two, the system generates this image. Right, which is pretty amazing. I don't think there's any up front that tells you a lower bound on the value of general purpose AI as a technology, which comes to $13.5 quadrillion. Right, and this is a lower bound because there are many additional things that we could deliver that we don't currently deliver even in the so-called advanced economies. right? We could have healthcare that's much better, much more optimized to the individual, their own physiology, their own genotype, and so on. Similarly, for education, we know that an expert human tutor can deliver 2 or 3 times the quality of education that a classroom can deliver. But what happens if we succeed in creating AI? And so the slide takes the form of an imaginary email conversation where superior alien civilization sends email to humanity@un.org. Be warned, we shall arrive in 30 to 50 years. And of course, humanity@un.org, this is, I mean no disrespect to the United Nations, says humanity is currently out of the office. We will respond to your message when we return. Smiley face. Right, very important to get the smiley face in. That was my sense in 2015 of how the human race, represented by its governments and international organizations, was dealing with the question of what happens if we succeed in our goals in artificial intelligence, where hundreds of thousands of researchers all over the world are working hard to achieve that goal. So, I think partly due to the emergence of generative AI, things have changed a bit. And in particular, a very short sequence of events. On March 14th, GPT-4 was released. A week later, Microsoft published a paper showing the results of several months of work with GPT-4 by extremely distinguished computer scientists who concluded that GPT-4 shows sparks of artificial general intelligence. In other words, exactly the kind of intelligence that I mentioned at the beginning. And then a week after that, the Future of Life Institute released an open letter signed by many distinguished leaders in industry and in academia, asking that there be a pause on the training and release of large language models more capable than GPT-4. That was immediately poo-pooed by the wise and the mighty. Of course, no one's going to pay any attention to that. But in fact, there hasn't been a model released since then that's more powerful than GPT-4. Coincidence? You be the judge. But anyway, I think the net result was that humanity returned to the office, right? They saw the email from the aliens and they said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? And the next day, UNESCO issued an urgent call directly responding to the open letter saying to all the member states, get your act together, take the recommendations and turn them into legislation as soon as possible. OpenAI itself called for governments to act to regulate these systems. China issued draft regulations that many people interpret as a ban on large language models, requiring safety properties that large language models cannot satisfy. The US Senate got into the act, the European Union called for an emergency global summit, etc., etc., etc. And on June 7th, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced that the UK would be convening that emergency global summit specifically on the question of AI safety. So, I'm a little more optimistic as a result of all this activity. I think the governments and international organizations are listening. So what do we tell them? I think one of the questions they want to know is, well, where are we and how are things going to evolve? And I don't have a crystal ball, but I think anyone looking at what's happening would tell you the large language models are generating already a tsunami of applications. And I put an asterisk next to large language models because they exhibit some weaknesses, particularly the tendency to tell complete lies with a straight face that makes them unusable in many, many real-world situations. And in fact, OpenAI itself says, do not use it in a high-stakes application. So, as you can imagine, everyone is trying to figure out solutions to that, and there are already versions of system architectures that try to constrain the output, that use the language model as an interface to a database, and so on. On the physical side, I would say it's less of a tsunami, but there is a rising tide. And we are starting to see trucking, we're starting to see warehouse robots, agricultural robots, construction robots, and they will only improve their capabilities as the AI side allows them to be more robust and more flexible, which has been the problem. You can't put a traditional industrial robot into an unstructured environment because it doesn't really close the loop through perception in the right way.
Distinguished speakers to join us one by one. I would like to welcome whoever you like. And we have, once again, with us, Gary Marcus.
Opportunity. I think one of the things that we've heard in this last 2 days is the tremendous opportunity around artificial intelligence for health, for human well-being, for the ability to live and thrive in healthy communities. And so for me, that's a tremendously optimistic view of the opportunities of AI ahead of us. But it brings also the conversation back to the ethics of AI and what does it mean to be able to put together solutions for the medical profession, for the healthcare profession, in the context of ethical approaches and ethical treatments. And so for me, both the opportunity for AI in healthcare also means we need to look at some of the risks if we don't take forward our solutions in a very thoughtful and ethical manner.
Okay.
The way that we can think about doing microbanking in sub-Saharan Africa. So new technology brings us new opportunities to engage in different ways. And I think the opportunity for us is to think through, for whatever country we live in, how can we provide value and benefit for those that are somewhere different from us, and to recognize each one of us has a completely different perspective of what life means if you're living in New York, or you're living in Melbourne, Australia, or you're living in Pittsburgh. Each one of us brings that different perspective, and so how do we then share that knowledge base and enable us to think about the benefits of humanity? Right? And what is really important is that we've got the right style of engagement and interaction between the different types of stakeholders. Within our audience here, we've had industry, we've had government, we've had startup companies, some academic engagement with researchers from universities, getting the right patterns in place for how to scale those collaborations and interactions does require us to think about not just operating within our own sphere of influence, but being willing to engage in understanding how do you take technology from a research lab at a university and create that new startup company. But that model of scale really does require this cooperation against those different domains and different users.
To combine that for empathetic applications. Amazing. Welcome.
University, where I lead the Monash Data Futures Institute, and we represent about 500 researchers across Monash with an interest in all things related to artificial intelligence and data science. We're particularly interested in the intersection of the arts, humanities, and social sciences societal perspective of AI, put together with the technology investments that we're making with science, technology, engineering, maths, and medicine. We're very focused on AI for health, AI for climate and sustainability. It's a pleasure to be here today.
I'm Gary Marcus. For the first time publicly, I can say I'm the CEO of the Center for the Advancement of Trustworthy AI, which has only been launched today. I loved hearing the phrase cognitive science because that's what I am as a cognitive scientist. By which the way I think of that is the kind of scholar who takes any field that is necessary in order to get to an answer, a question about the human mind, and ultimately that led me to the artificial mind. What can we learn from psychology, philosophy, linguistics, and so forth in order to make AI better? And in recent times I have taken that a degree further towards policy, which is ultimately a function of human psychology and how we can make all that stuff work at the intersection of AI.
Great, thanks, Gary.
Wendell?
So I'm Wendell Wallach, and I have been in the ethics and governance of emerging technologies for more than 20 years now. There was a time when there may have been 100 or 200 people on the planet who even cared about the kinds of subjects we're dealing with today. My primary role these days or identity is as a Carnegie Huro Scholar at the Carnegie Council for Ethics and International Affairs. And there I started an AI and equality project with Anya Kaspersky. I wanted to call it AI and structural inequality, but we tried to give it a positive twist.
The age of spiritual machines. So let me quickly introduce you, and then we move to our conversation. So Ray Kurzweil is one of the world's leading inventors, thinkers, and futurists. He has a 30-year track record of accurate predictions. He was the principal inventor of the first CCD flatbed scanner.
And Ambassador Lauber, Geneva is the place to be. Wonderful to see a full room as we start to wrap this up. The time has come, I would say somewhat unfortunately, to bring this summit to a close. And I want to, of course, thank all of you that have made this possible. Of course, so grateful to the Swiss government for co-convening this event with ITU, and of course, a huge thanks to our UN partners, over 40 partners strong. Thank you as well. Thanks, of course, to our sponsors, our speakers, and you, the participants here physically and also joining us virtually. I think you have helped us to take another step forward towards building an inclusive, a safe, and responsible AI. Thousands came to Geneva. Thousands joined us online, and of course, that includes our robots. I hope you got to meet and engage with the robots. I would say engagement, more than numbers, really tells the story of what we have experienced over the last 2 days. It builds on a wide range of perspectives, ideas at different stages of maturity. But I think it's fair to say there's certainly one thing in common. That would be a commitment to finding practical solutions together, in particular when it comes to global AI governance frameworks. So let me share some of them with you. We have heard, as we just heard in the great panel that Jennifer moderated, we have heard calls for new bodies modeled on existing ones like CERN, like IAEA, like IPCC, as well as proposals to empower existing organizations. We had conversations on things like how a registry of new or anticipated AI applications might work. We also heard calls for a global observatory, how an AI observatory could look. And I think we have some great ideas to start to think about and move forward. So where do we go from here? And picking up on some of Gary and Wendell's comments, Jennifer, in your session, it's about making the right choice, right? We have to make the right choice, and I think it's time for us to roll up our sleeves, and we need to analyze what's feasible, what's already available, and of course, what can be done. And that's what you've called on us to do. And I think it puts us on a path. You mentioned that, Jennifer, we need to have this path. So it really puts us on a path to be able to create a roadmap for the short term, for the medium term, and also, of course, for the long term. So the UN group on AI, we have this interagency group, I won't get into acronyms. It's a group led by ITU, by UNESCO, and it's geared up, ready, and charged to help move this dialogue and conversation forward. But of course, the work doesn't stop here. I think it's fair to say that we're really just getting started, and that we must continue to push inclusive dialogue. Inclusive dialogue, we've heard that from so many on AI governance. We need to engage with stakeholders to develop these ideas further. From the ITU perspective, of course, we will continue to do our part. We will continue to focus on AI standards development, policy assistance. We will also be integrating AI capacity support into our digital transformation offerings, together with partners like UNDP and others, especially in countries with low technological capabilities. This is another thing, even Ambassador opening message from the UN Secretary General, who made a strong call, and he urged us to continue to explore the practical applications of AI to advance the Sustainable Development Goals, that normative framework, Ambassador Lauer, that you just mentioned. And I think that what we saw over the past 2 days, I think it brings us a lot of hope. And I guess we wouldn't be here if we didn't have hope. And I'm an optimist by nature, and I think it does give us a lot of hope. We saw how robots can go into situations that might be too dangerous for humans. We saw them bring comfort and support and interact with us and also with each other on a whole new level. We had the world's first robot press conference and diplomatic meet and greet. We saw how AI can help farmers to adapt to climate change. We saw how AI can transform and tailor education. We saw how AI can unleash a whole new wave of personalized healthcare, and how AI can help us to use outer space peacefully over the long term and for the benefit of all. I think that's where the opportunities lie. They're tremendous, and each and every one of those SDGs can benefit. That's one of the scenarios that I described yesterday, and I think, Wendell, you pitched it a different way, but it was obviously very complementary to what I laid out yesterday. And that's the scenario where AI lives up to its promise, and where we manage to put the right guardrails in place. That was the future I chose, and most of you, I think, if I heard you, said you were with me. It's now time for collaboration. It's time for co-creation. It's time for stakeholders and disciplines, and Gary, that includes scientists, because this is the AI moment. This is our moment. Let's put human values first. Let's stay true to our core UN values. And let's show the world what an inclusive, a safe, and a responsible AI can do for humanity. Thank you very much.
So, we all have our own training data. I've certainly had my fair share of input. I've been run over, I've fallen off a cliff, I even went through breast cancer during lockdown. I know, right? Quite a bit, but I've also filmed and performed on stage in over 50. making it, no one's quite sure. In fact, it seems impossible to scale, and we really need it to if we are to solve the types of problems that AIforGood is aiming at. And when we try to interrogate these building blocks of creativity,